the Sci-Fi Invasion. I'm your host, Joey Hollywood, and I'm trying to get through all 50 movies in this 50 movie box set from Mill Creek in 50 weeks. The movie I watched today was called Bride of the Gorilla. And, coincidentally, I think a lot of you guys know I'm a big fan of Mystery Science Theater and the Incognito Cinema Warriors, now called Robot Co-op on Twitch. If you don't know what Robot Co-op is, go to Twitch, subscribe to them there. They're probably the best streamers out there. But before they were streaming on Twitch and being absolutely hilarious, they had a little riffing show called the Incognito Cinema Warriors. And I am lucky enough to have their first movie here, Bride of the Gorilla, which I did not watch for this review. Because I wanted to review the version in the box, because some of these movies I actually own on Blu-ray, but I'm opting to watch them here specifically so I can get a proper review of the box set, because that's the whole point of this. But I did want to talk a little bit about this. This episode of the Incognito Cinema Warriors is not widely available. A lot of fun if you can get a hold of it. This is the original edit of it. From what I've been told, there was a subsequent there was a later release of it that took out some scenes for reasons I understand. I really like this one. I think right out of the gate, it's really funny. I think my only criticism besides the stuff they took out, the only criticism I have with it is there's too many riffs. There's too many jokes. From what I understand, when this hit the internet, Mike Nelson of Mystery Science Theater reached out to them and said that he loved it, and he only gave them one criticism, is that they had too many riffs in too short of a span. And what's funny about that is Mike Nelson of Mystery Science Theater said that, but there's less riffs in this episode than there is in the first episode of the Mystery Science Theater reboot. That has way too many riffs. It's almost to the point where I can't absorb anything else in the movie. They're just talking. Where this one had too much talking, but I could still follow the movie. I could not follow the movie with Reptilicus. It's just kind of funny that even their worst example was better than the first episode of the MST3K reboot. But yeah, if you can get a hold of this, I recommend it. It's fun to see the beginning of something. I think their later episodes are far better, and also their stuff they're doing on Twitch is pretty amazing. But enough with that. I swear I'm not sponsored. But yeah, let's talk about Bride of the Gorilla. Bride of the Gorilla stars Raymond Burr, who I personally know has the bad guy from Rear Window, my favorite Hitchcock movie. I always think of him. I like Perry Mason as well, which I think is kind of a weird thing to say for someone my age, but I like procedurals. But when I see Raymond Burr, I'm like, oh yes, it's Perry Mason and the killer from Rear Window. But yeah, he plays I think he's like some sort of like hand on this plantation in the jungle, and he gets in an argument with the boss, who he is in love with his boss's wife, and as they're fighting, he pushes him, and a poisonous snake bites the boss, and he dies. And all the money goes towards the estate, everything goes towards his wife, and Raymond Burr marries his wife really soon after, which is super, super suspicious, and that gets everyone focused in on him. Lon Chaney Jr. is the police officer in this, and he's like super suspicious of them. There's some interesting stuff with Lon Chaney Jr.'s character, because he is apparently from the village, this African village, and he's resentful that he left the village to go get a Western education, because now he feels too distant from his own culture. He doesn't feel at home anymore. He doesn't feel at home anywhere. And that's some of the more interesting things about the movie. The rest of the movie is Raymond Burr running into the woods and making animal noises. And for a movie called Bride of the Gorilla, you think there would be more gorilla in this film. But no, you only see him as a gorilla for like maybe a minute tops, and it's at the end of the movie. So a lot of the movie is him like looking at his hands and him acting weird and him going like, "Oh, the forest, it calls to me," and that's the vast majority of the film. It's nothing beyond that, but it is fun and it's short enough that it doesn't feel like a chore to sit through. It's fun to watch on your own. It's fun to watch with friends. It's fun to watch with a riffing show that's still finding its footing. Would I recommend watching it on its own? Sure. Yeah, it's a fine little B movie, and that's all I really have to say about it, which is partly why I talked about the riffing version first, because I have more to say about that than the actual movie. But in any case, I hope you check out something that I talked about here, and I'll see you next week. Remember, please be kind and rewind.